On my birthday, I had no clue what awaited me. The day began like any other, filled with excitement, anticipation, and the usual birthday greetings and presents. My husband had been acting a bit odd in the days leading up to my birthday, but I assumed it was just a way of planning a special surprise. I was accustomed to his grand gestures, romantic dinners, exotic trips, or something intimate and thoughtful just for us. But this birthday was set to take an entirely unexpected turn, one that would alter my view of our relationship forever. The morning started out normally with my husband wishing me a happy birthday. He kissed me deeply, and I could tell there was something different about him, almost as if he was holding back something exciting. His eyes gleamed with mischief, but he didn't reveal anything yet. Throughout the day, he dropped little hints like, "I have something special planned for tonight, and you're going to love it." I smiled, thinking it could be a fancy dinner or perhaps a weekend getaway he'd booked as a surprise. When evening came, I felt a heightened sense of excitement. My husband had told me to dress up, but didn't specify what to wear. I picked a simple yet alluring dress that fit me perfectly, leaving just enough to the imagination. As I was finishing up, the doorbell rang. I thought it might be a delivery or a surprise gift, but when I opened the door, I was taken aback to find my husband's best friend standing there. I had known him for years, and he had always been a part of our lives, mostly platonically. He was charming, funny, and easy to get along with, but I'd never seen him in a romantic light. However, tonight felt different. He greeted me with a knowing smile as he stepped inside, and my husband greeted him warmly. It was clear this was part of the plan, though I still had no idea what the plan actually was. After some small talk, my husband took my hand and led me into the living room. Candles were lit, casting a soft glow throughout the room, and music played low and sensually. My heart started to race. The tension in the air was palpable, though I couldn't yet understand what was happening. My husband's friend sat on a couch, watching us closely, and my husband pulled me in, whispering in my ear, "Are you ready for your surprise?" I nodded, curiosity rising. He kissed me passionately, his hands moving down my back, and for a brief moment, I forgot we weren't alone. But then I felt it, another presence. I glanced over, and my husband's friend was still there, watching us, a hint of a smile on his lips. It was then that I realized what was going on. My husband had never hinted at anything like this before, but in that moment, I understood. This wasn't just an ordinary birthday surprise. It was something much more intense, something that crossed boundaries we had never discussed. But instead of feeling shocked or uncomfortable, I found myself strangely excited. The thought of being with both my husband and his best friend was something I had never considered. But here it was, happening right in front of me. My husband pulled me closer, his kisses deepening, and his friend stood up and moved towards us. The energy in the room was thick with suspense and desire. My heart was racing, and I could feel the heat building between us all. The tension was electric. My husband whispered in my ear again, "Do you trust me?" I nodded, speechless, my body already responding to the excitement coursing through me. He smiled and kissed me again, this time more urgently, his hands roaming over me, pulling me closer. I could sense his friend moving nearer. I heard the sound of his breathing and the rustle of his clothes as he positioned himself behind me. My mind raced, but I didn't stop him. I didn't stop either of them. As my husband's hands explored my body, I felt his friend's hands join in. Together, they moved in perfect sync, touching, teasing, and pushing me further into a state of overwhelming desire. My mind was spinning, caught between the excitement of this unexpected experience and the powerful sensations taking over my body. The three of us were lost in the moment, tangled in a web of passion and pleasure that I had never known before. My husband's friend leaned in, his breath warm against my neck, and I shivered as his lips brushed my skin. My husband kissed me deeply, his hands gripping my hips, while his friend's hands moved along my back. It was an experience unlike anything I had ever imagined, and I found myself giving in completely, letting them take control, letting them show me what they had planned for my birthday. The night continued in a blur of intense moments, our bodies moving together in ways I had never experienced. It was wild, intense, and incredibly liberating. I felt like I was part of something much bigger than just a physical connection. There was an unspoken bond between us, a deep sense of trust that allowed us to explore these new sensations without hesitation or fear. As the night went on, I grew more comfortable with the situation. My husband and his friend seemed to know exactly how to touch me, how to bring me to the edge of ecstasy and back again. It was as if they had planned every detail, knowing exactly what would push my limits and make the experience unforgettable. I had never felt more desired or wanted than in that moment. They worshipped my body, taking turns exploring every inch of me, driving me to heights of pleasure I had never known. It was intense, raw, and utterly intoxicating. I could feel their passion and hunger, and it only intensified my own desire. By the time the night ended, I was completely exhausted, lying between my husband and his friend, feeling an overwhelming sense of satisfaction and connection. It was a birthday surprise unlike any other, one I would never forget. My husband kissed me gently, his hand resting on my hip, and his friend smiled at me, his eyes filled with warmth and affection. We didn't speak much after that. There was no need. The night had been perfect, and we all knew it. As I lay there, my mind raced with thoughts of what had just happened. I never imagined I would be part of something like this, but now that it had occurred, I couldn't picture my life without it. It was thrilling, exciting, and completely unexpected. The next morning, when I woke up, my husband was already up, making breakfast. His friend had left early, leaving the two of us alone to reflect on the night. I smiled at my husband, feeling an overwhelming sense of love and appreciation for him. He had given me the most incredible birthday surprise, one that pushed the boundaries of our relationship in the best possible way. As I sipped my coffee, my husband leaned over and kissed me softly, whispering, "Happy birthday." His mischievous smile told me that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in our relationship, one filled with trust, passion, and perhaps even more surprises. It was a night I would never forget, a birthday that had changed everything. As I sat there reflecting on the events, I couldn't help but feel incredibly lucky to have a husband who understood me so well, who knew how to surprise me in ways I never expected. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about that night. It was like a secret memory, one that resurfaced whenever I had a quiet moment. My relationship with my husband had always been strong, but this experience had brought us even closer, creating an unbreakable bond. We had shared something so intimate, so thrilling, and it left me craving more every time. I looked at my husband, and I could see that we were both thinking the same thing. There was an unspoken connection between us, a feeling that something had changed, and we both enjoyed it. He would flash me that mischievous smile, reminding me of what we had shared, and it would send a chill down my spine. But there was also a question lingering between us, one that we hadn't addressed yet. Was that night a one-off, or was it the start of something new? One evening, about a week after my birthday, we were lounging on the couch together, unwinding after a long day. My husband was scrolling through his phone, and I was lost in thought when he suddenly looked up at me. His eyes gleamed with that familiar, playful look. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice quiet and teasing, "about your birthday surprise." My heart skipped a beat. I had been thinking about it too, of course, but hearing him bring it up made it all feel so much more real. "Yeah?" I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, though my heart was racing. He shifted closer, his hand sliding up my thigh in that way that always sent sparks through my body. "Did you enjoy it?" he asked, his voice now a little more serious, though still laced with that teasing tone. I nodded, biting my lip. "You know I did," I whispered. He smiled that same mischievous grin that always made my knees weak. "Good," he said softly, leaning in to kiss me. His lips were warm and soft, and as he kissed me, I could feel all the emotions from that night flooding back. The passion, the excitement, the thrill of something new and unexpected. When he pulled away, he looked into my eyes, searching for something. "Would you want to do it again?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as if he were sharing a secret. My pulse quickened at the question. The thought of doing it again had crossed my mind more than once since my birthday, but I hadn't been sure how to bring it up. Now that he had, I couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. "Maybe," I said, my voice playful yet serious at the same time. "Are you thinking what I think you're thinking?" He grinned again, his hand giving my thigh a slight squeeze. "I might be," he teased, but the seriousness in his eyes told me he was more than just playing around. "I've been talking to him," he said quietly, referring to his friend. He enjoyed it too, a lot. A wave of heat spread across my body at his words. The memory of his friend's hands on me, his lips on my skin, came rushing back vividly. The idea of experiencing that again, of sharing something so intimate with both of them, sent a thrill through me. "What are you suggesting?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. My husband leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I'm suggesting that maybe we don't have to stop at just one night." My breath caught in my throat. The idea of making this a regular part of our relationship, of exploring this new dynamic, was both exciting and nerve-wracking. But as I looked into his eyes, I could see how much he wanted this, how much he wanted to share this experience with me again. And I realized that I wanted it too. "I think I'd like that," I whispered, my voice barely audible, but my meaning was clear. His smile widened, and he kissed me again, this time with more urgency, more passion. I could feel the excitement building between us, the same electricity that had sparked on my birthday night. I knew in that moment that this was just the beginning of something new and thrilling for our relationship. A few days later, my husband came to me with another surprise. He had been talking to his friend again, and they had planned another night, just like the one we had shared on my birthday. This time, though, there was no birthday to celebrate, no special occasion. It was just us, exploring this new dynamic, pushing the boundaries of our relationship in ways we never had before. The night arrived, and once again I was filled with that same mix of anticipation and excitement. I dressed in something sexy, knowing that the night would be intense, that it would be unforgettable. My husband and his friend arrived, and as soon as they walked through the door, I could feel the tension in the air. There was no need for introductions this time, no awkward small talk. We all knew what was about to happen, and the excitement was palpable. My husband pulled me into his arms, kissing me deeply, while his friend stood close by, watching us with that same hungry look in his eyes. The three of us moved together smoothly, as though we had done this countless times before. There was no hesitation, no uncertainty, just pure, raw desire. The intensity of the night was even greater than it had been on my birthday, and I found myself completely lost in the moment, giving in to the pleasure and the thrill of being with both of them at once. Every touch, every kiss, every moment was electric. By the time the night was over, I was completely spent, tangled in sheets and limbs, feeling more satisfied than I ever had before. My husband kissed me softly, his hand resting on my hip, and his friend smiled at me, his eyes filled with warmth and affection. This wasn't just a one-time thing anymore. It had become something more, something that had become part of our relationship. And as I lay there, basking in the afterglow of the night, I realized that I was more than okay with that. In fact, I was excited about what the future held and the new experiences we would share together. If you've enjoyed my stories, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. There's so much more to come, and you won't want to miss a single moment. Trust me, the surprises are only just beginning.